All right, our second program of the evening is The Whistler. Each episode of The Whistler began with the sound of footsteps and a person whistling. A character only known as the Whistler was the host and the narrator of these tales, which focused on crime and fate. He often commented directly upon the action in the manner of a Greek chorus, taunting the characters, guilty or innocent, from an omniscient perspective. The stories followed a formula in which the person's criminal acts were typically undone, either by an overlooked but important detail or by the criminal's own stupidity. An ironic ending, often grim, was a key feature of each episode. But on rare occasions, such as this one, the plot's twist of fate caused the story to end happily for the protagonist. Bill Foreman had the title role of the Whistler for the longest period of time. Others who portrayed him at various times were Gail Gordon, Joseph Kearns, Marvin Miller, Bill Johnstone, and Everett Clark. In 1946, a local Chicago version of the Whistler aired on WBBM radio on Sundays. This program also aired on WBBM and through CBS, and we're going to turn the dial back to Christmas Day of 1949 for the Whistler episode entitled Letter from Cynthia.
Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline, invites you to sit back and enjoy another strange story by The Whistler. For extra driving pleasure, the signal to look for is the yellow and black circle sign that identifies signal service stations from Canada to Mexico. And for Sunday evening listening pleasure, the signal to listen for is this whistle that identifies the signal oil program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now for the Signal Oil Company, The Whistler's Strange Story, Letter from Cynthia.
To the holiday staff on duty at the small hospital on the outskirts of a small town on the coast of Southern California. Christmas night was much like any other. Not quite, of course, for the spirit of the season was in the air. A tree, austerely and beautifully decorated in a motif of silver and white, stood majestically high alone in the center of the reception lobby. The attractive receptionist at the desk, who doubled on the switchboard at night, glanced eagerly at a dozen festively wrapped packages and presents left to her earlier in the day by various members of the staff. From the church across the street, the soft melody of a Christmas carol floated through the open window on the far side. The sound of footsteps descending the stairs on the right caused the girl to glance up, as one of the newer doctors who was serving his internship strode casually to the desk.
Thought I'd come down for a little breather. Kind of slow tonight, Patty.
Is that bad for Christmas night? What do you want from Santa Claus anyway, Dr. Andrews? A couple of emergency appendectomies?
Oh, no, I didn't mean that. I just meant it's kind of...
Ah, sure, I know. And it suits me just fine. I only got 2 hours of sleep today and 8 hours in front of me here at this desk.
Oh, that's bad, Pat. You'll never see your grandchildren if you keep that up.
Oh, people were dropping in all day long. You know how it is Christmas Day.
Uh-huh.
Good night, Patty. Hope you had a nice Christmas.
Oh, I did, Dr. Peters. Thanks for the nice present.
You're welcome. Well, night, Patty.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night, Doc.
Night, Neil.
Yep, Patty, it's like I said. A gal like you needs 8 hours sleep a day.
Did you get 8 hours sleep today, Doctor?
10.
You would. You know, you're an odd man, Dr. Andrews.
Odd? Well, how do you mean?
But I mean, oh, I don't know. You act like there's something bothering you. Like there's something always on your mind all of the time.
Well, maybe there is.
Well, everybody has things on their mind. You could still go out and dance and have fun like the other doctors do. The single ones, I mean.
We're too busy. I'm still an intern, you know.
You make it sound like a sentence. Yes. Outside line? Yes, sir. Oh. Here, doctor, I almost forgot.
Huh?
Maybe this pretty pink envelope will change your viewpoint.
A letter. When did this come?
Oh, I don't know. I just came on duty 10 minutes ago. Why don't you open it? Why, Dr. Andrews, your hands are trembling. I believe your viewpoint has changed already.
Yes, Neil, your hands are trembling as you recognize the handwriting and read the return address on the envelope. The address of lovely Cynthia Walker. She's out of your life now, isn't she? Nah, she'll never be out of your life, will she? You're just out of hers. You walk across the lobby, choose a chair near a light, and stare into space for a moment. The memory of that last moment with Cynthia crowding every other thought from your mind. It isn't pleasant to recall, is it, Neil? The unfortunate accident that cost you your reputation, your position, and the love of Cynthia Walker. At the very beginning of your career as an intern in an important hospital, you remember Cynthia's thoughtless, angry words that followed? Yes, looking back to that day more than a year ago, it's hard to believe now that a few hours could have made so much difference in your future. But they did. And as you try to read the words on the scrap of paper, Cynthia's letter in your hand, you know that one man is responsible for it all. Charles Arthur Bennett, the man who lied when the truth would have cleared you. Charles Arthur Bennett, the man who called himself your best friend. The sound of an ambulance wheeling into the receiving room below shatters your train of thought. Across the room, a yellow light flashes on the switchboard. You turn quickly back to the letter.
Yes.
But your thoughts are blurred.
Yes. Yes, he's here. Yes, certainly, doctor.
You know, you won't have time to finish your letter before you get the call.
Yes,
You're
doctor.
sure it's coming.
Yes. Yes, doctor. I'll make out the registration card right away. Oh, Dr. Andrews.
Yes, Pat. Admitting room?
No, Miss Stevens is busy. 412 has had a relapse.
Oh.
You're taking the emergency to the 3rd floor. Dr. Graham wants you to go up to the 3rd floor drug room.
Well, what kind of accident?
A car crash, traumatic and hemotractic shock. Patient very weak. Dr. Graham wants you to prepare injections of sereptamine and sacralin and take them to the operating room 3rd floor.
Right. I was afraid we might have one of these before the day was over. Did you get any of the details?
No, only that it was an automobile accident. Man's unconscious, but according to the identification card in his wallet, his name is Charles Bennett, salesman.
Who did you say?
Bennett. Charles Arthur Bennett, Los Angeles.
Yes, Neil. It's a shock, isn't it, to realize what's happened. For more than a year, your resentment of Charlie Bennett has smoldered, and now the girl at the switchboard tells you he's here in the hospital, where you're now interning, the victim of an automobile accident, that you have to prepare the drugs that might save his life. Might save his life. As you hurry up the stairs along the hallway to the laboratory, your thoughts go back to that night more than a year ago. The circumstances were quite different then, weren't they, Neil? Because, although you didn't then realize it, that night you were at the mercy of Charlie Bennett. The night which began at a birthday party for Charlie Bennett more than a year ago at the home of a mutual friend. But as far as you were concerned, there were just the three of you. Cynthia, Charlie, your best friend, and you. Yes, Neil, things were much different then.
Oh, it's a wonderful party. I wish I didn't have to leave right in the middle of it.
Well, if you must, you must. I'll drive you home.
Oh, no, darling. I've already phoned for a taxi. Now, this is the first time you've been off duty from the hospital in a long time. I want you to stay here and relax and just have fun.
Okay, but I might get into trouble, you know.
I trust you. You're a big boy now, or I wouldn't have told you I'd marry you.
But have you told Charlie?
No, not yet. I'll tell him tomorrow. I don't want to seem conceited, but telling him tonight that I'm going to marry you, it just might spoil his birthday party.
Yes, it would.
By the way, where is Charlie?
Oh, he's around. Over in the corner, I think. Yeah, that island, completely surrounded by the ocean of blondes.
Well, I wouldn't think of invading that territory just to tell him goodnight. You tell him for me, will you, Neil?
Well, sure. But do you really have to go?
Oh, I'm afraid so. Jane's only in town for the night, and I don't get to see my sister very often. My taxi ought to be here by now. Now, it's your night off, dear. You have fun. You interns don't get out of that hospital often enough. And besides, the champagne is wonderful.
Well, anything you say, darling.
Reluctantly, you see Cynthia to a cab. You come back to the birthday party for Charlie. You take Cynthia's advice, too. Enjoy a little champagne. Make party talk with other friends. And you do have a good time, Neil. You're relaxed for the first time in weeks. In another hour or two, most of the crowd is gone, and finally, you even convince Charlie that it's time to go home. And in the lobby going out.
Why don't you leave your car here, Charlie, and go home in style like I am?
What do you mean in style?
Well, leave your car here. Get a taxi.
Hey, what's the idea? I can drive. Oh, don't tell me the good doctor's feeling a little champagne.
No, not really, but, well, I just don't want to do any driving, that's all.
Well, you don't have to do any. A little bit of champagne didn't bother me. Look, tell you what, we live close to each other. We'll use your car and I'll pick mine up tomorrow.
Well, I'd sure rather take a taxi.
Oh, well, there aren't any taxis around anyway.
Well, there's a stand about 3 blocks away.
Not at night, Neil. Besides, you'll need your car to get to the hospital in the morning. Come on, Neil boy. I'm okay.
Oh, well, all right if you're sure, but, well, let's go. But take it easy now.
Once in the car, you make one more effort to talk Charlie out of driving, but to no avail. You're getting a little weary of the slight argument, so you let him drive your car. And after the first few blocks, you decide you have nothing to worry about. Charlie seems to be driving satisfactorily. Slightly over the speed limit, but everything seems to be all right until he suddenly turns a corner sharply. That's the last you remember for a little while. When you open your eyes, you feel a dizziness, a dull pain at your temple. And someone's talking somewhere.
Come on now, fella. That's it. Come on, boy, come on. Hey, are you hurt?
I hurt? No. Oh, no. Officer,
Okay, not much, I guess. Just a bump on the head. That lamppost made quite an impression on your car, though. Yeah, what's the idea of driving like that?
Well, me driving? Well, Charlie was driving.
Oh, Charlie was driving.
Well, yeah, he's gone.
He sure is. Say, you're a little on the woozy side, friend.
But Charlie, where's Charlie?
Come on, chump, that's enough about Charlie. Now, how much have you had to drink anyway?
Well, I haven't had much to drink. Now, look here, officer. Charlie was here. I know he was here.
No one was here, chum. I heard the crash round the corner and came straight here. No Charlie, no nobody. Just you and a little man who wasn't here.
But he couldn't have gone. Charlie!
That's all, chump. We got a swell place downtown where you can sleep on it.
It's like a nightmare, isn't it, Neil? You're bewildered and confused by what happened. It's all a mistake, isn't it? A horrible mistake. And Charlie will show up soon and explain everything. Then you're booked at police headquarters and spend the rest of the night pacing back and forth in jail. Finally, in the early morning, someone is there to put up your bail.
Hello, Cynthia.
Hello, Neil. I came as quickly as I could.
Thanks. Thanks for springing me.
Oh, come along, Neil. I'll drive you home.
How did you find out I was here?
The whole story's in the morning paper. And it mentions your connection with the hospital, too.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Dr. Rogers called me about it. He was quite concerned.
Well, he needn't have been. We'll get this whole thing cleared up in no time. No time at all.
Oh, I hope so, Neil.
Sure, just as soon as I see Charlie Bennett.
Charlie?
Well, yes, he'll tell them what really happened. He was driving the car. It was all his fault. I was just... Well, what's the matter, Cynthia? Why are you looking at me like that?
Why, I've already talked with Charlie.
Well, then he told you how it really happened.
Charlie said he wasn't with you last night when it happened. He took a cab. He went home alone.
It leaves you stunned, doesn't it, Neil? You're certain there must be some mistake. But since Charlie understands how much it means to you, he'll realize what's happened and tell the truth. It's too late to prevent the unfavorable publicity for the hospital, but at least you can be cleared in Dr. Rogers' eyes and in Cynthia's. You see Cynthia safely home, then take a taxi directly to Charlie's apartment. He isn't there, but the desk clerk lets you in, and you settle down to wait and to think. Nearly 2 hours later, a key sounds in the door.
Neil! Hiya, pal. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? I would have waited.
I didn't plan on it. The desk clerk let me in. You talked to Cynthia on the phone this morning, didn't you, Charlie?
Cynthia? Oh, yeah, the crack of dawn. Well, naturally, she was worried about you.
Naturally. And what did you tell her?
So that's what's worrying you, huh? Well, I didn't really mean to do it, Neil, but I had to. Hey, you want a drink?
No.
Oh, well, mind if I have one?
Look, Charlie, I'm trying to give you a chance to explain.
Okay. No reason to get sore.
You lied to Cynthia. Why?
Well, I told you. I had to. You know I'm a salesman. I have to drive a car to make a living.
What's that got to do with it?
Only everything, that's all. Look, Neil, I didn't bother to mention it to anyone, but I was in a scrap 3 weeks ago. I got hauled up for driving under the weather. I got off with a fine and a warning that time.
Wait a minute. You mean you deliberately let me take the rap for your accident last night?
Well, I tell you, I couldn't help it.
Do you know what a spot this has put me in? The hospital has a reputation they're pretty jealous of, you know.
Sure, and I've got a job.
And so have I. I think you'd better put down that drink and put your coat back on, Charlie.
Why?
Because you're coming with me to explain to Dr. Rogers. And then we're going together to see Cynthia.
Oh, what good would that do? It's all over now, Neil.
You mean you're refusing?
I mean, I went home in a taxi last night alone. Told my story once, and I don't see anything to gain by changing it now.
Suddenly, it occurs to you that Charlie has a more important reason for lying. His job is only part of it. He's always wanted to marry Cynthia, too, despite your long friendship. He believes anything's fair in love or war. It's as simple as that. And with you out of the way, he's sure he'll have a clear field. And Cynthia, after all this, what about Cynthia, Neil? You have to be sure. Can you be sure of Cynthia now?
Neil, I just can't understand it.
You don't believe me, do you? But you do believe Charlie.
Why would he lie about a thing like this?
Well, because with me out of the way, he thinks he could marry you.
Neil, I've known Charlie for years. He wouldn't do a thing like that. Besides, he's your best friend.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's proved that all right, hasn't he?
Neil, aren't you forgetting that Charlie wasn't found in the wreck? That you were you all alone? Your story is, well, it's too fantastic. The police don't believe it, and Charlie says it couldn't have been that way.
And you, Cynthia? What do you say?
Oh, Neil, what can I say? Do you think I want to believe this? And Dr. Rogers, the hospital, what do they say?
Naturally, I resigned. I couldn't do anything else. I don't blame them for what they think, any of them. But I know I'm right. Never mind, Cynthia. I guess there's no use in going over all that again.
Neil, you're not going, are you?
Oh, why not? I don't seem to be getting anywhere.
What's going to happen, Neil? Do you think you'll be able to get an internship somewhere else?
Well, I think so. I'm just as qualified as I ever was. My previous record was good, and I've learned a lot. Sorry this has been too much for you, Cynthia.
I haven't said it.
You wouldn't consider marrying a man you didn't believe, would you?
I want to believe you, Neil, more than I ever wanted anything to believe, ever.
Well, maybe you will someday. Maybe you'll learn the truth. When you do, let me know. You'll be able to find me.
Yes, it all happened more than a year ago, didn't it, Neil? You cut off all contact with your friends in Los Angeles. You've often wondered if Cynthia ever married Charlie. And every time you've wondered, your hatred towards him has grown deeper. You've often thought of killing him, haven't you? Yes, often. And now, on Christmas night, more than a year later, in a small, out-of-the-way hospital, fate places the life of Charlie Bennett squarely in your hands. The switchboard operator has told you he's in the operating room, unconscious, seriously injured in an auto accident, and you've been assigned to prepare the medication, which will spell life or death for him. Just a little too much, or not quite enough? It's almost too easy, isn't it? Now, the slightest suspicion will be attached to you. You smile as you enter the drug room and find another intern there.
What's the emergency, Neil?
Car wreck.
You assisting?
No, just preparing the sereptamine and sacralin shots.
Well, it must have been a pretty bad accident.
Yeah, I heard so. Did you ever stop to think about the power of these drugs? Just the right amount means almost certain recovery, and too much or too little, oblivion.
Do you always get this philosophical at Christmas?
No, but I guess this case made me think about it more than usual. You see, I know the guy.
Oh, a friend.
You said it. What a friend.
Kind of an unusual situation, isn't it?
A very unusual situation.
You know, friends, we of the Signal Oil Organization feel mighty proud and pleased that you have invited the Whistler into your home so regularly throughout the year, and especially on Christmas Day. For all of us as a cast, I want to express our own sincere appreciation too. During the 7 consecutive years that the Whistler has been broadcast by Signal Oil Company, many of us have had the pleasure of celebrating Christmas with many of you a number of times. And believe me, we feel it a real honor that you consider us a part of your entertainment family. Tonight, on behalf of Signal Oil Company and the independent Signal dealers who serve you, I want to say we hope that your Christmas has been a merry one. May your new year be filled with peace, prosperity, and the good health with which to enjoy the many blessings of living in the good old USA.
Well, Neil, the die is cast, isn't it? You've donned your sterile mask and gown and prepared the injections, carried them to the operating room where you placed them on the instrument tray, without even a glance at the mask sheet-covered patient. You note Dr. Graham's nod of dismissal and quietly leave the operating room where Charlie Bennett's chance for life or death lies squarely in your hands. You never dreamed you'd have such an opportunity, did you, Neil? After removing your mask and gown, you return to the hallway and wait by a window near the operating room. As the melody from the church drifts in through the partially open window, you wonder whether you're glad or sorry what you've done. Then you remember the disgrace Charlie Bennett brought on you, your shattered hopes, the happiness you might have had with Cynthia, and you know the answer. Even if you could, you wouldn't change the situation in the slightest. You pause under a ceiling light and decide to finish Cynthia's letter.
And now, as another Christmas approaches, I realize how hasty I seemed in my judgment.
Suddenly, your heart beats faster as you realize that she's still Miss Cynthia Walker. You can almost hear the words as the melody of her voice haunts your memory.
But you were even more hasty in your action. Your sudden abrupt leaving, not letting me know where you were. I know now how wrong I was to doubt you, but even when my doubts were deepest, I loved you. You told me once a woman loves in spite of a man's weakness, not because of his strength. Remember, Neil? Well, so it was, and is, with me and you. I haven't changed, and I can't believe that you have. Merry Christmas, Cynthia.
You turn away, stare out the window. Suddenly you're horrified and ashamed that you, a doctor bound by the sacred oath of Hippocrates, have allowed your hatred of Charlie Bennett to bring you to the point that it did. Finally, the door to the operating room opens. The still form is wheeled silently past you. You continue to stare out the window. You light a cigarette and wait for Dr. Graham to emerge from the operating room. As he opens the operating room door and enters the hallway, you walk slowly towards him.
How's the patient, Doctor?
Well, the patient is going to be all right. Glad you were around. Sereptamine is a godsend. May I have one of your cigarettes, Andrews?
Oh, sure, Doctor.
Thank you. I wish Sereptamine had been available when I first started practice. As a matter of fact, I wish I were young like you, just beginning. You'll be a great doctor one day, Andrews.
Will I?
I'm sure of it. You're honest. Duty comes first with you. Why, you could do no more to abate it than to commit murder.
No, I guess I couldn't. But I almost made a terrible mistake a little while ago. A mistake that could have been fatal to your patient.
But you didn't.
No, and I don't think I'll ever be tempted to make a simple little mistake again.
I'm sure you won't, whatever it was. No, the practice of medicine is in your heart above everything.
Yes, I guess it is.
Oh, it is. I've always known that. That's why I appointed you.
Thank you, Doctor. Oh, when can I speak with Mr. Bennett?
Oh, anytime you wish. He's lying down in my office. Bennett wasn't seriously injured, just knocked out temporarily. He was driving the car.
Well, you mean someone else was in the car with...
Yeah, our patient was the young lady with him. It seems they were on their way out here to the hospital to see one of our interns. She'll be okay.
Doctor, who was she?
Well, her name's Walker, Cynthia Walker.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at the same time, brought to you by the Signal Oil Company. The Whistler was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler is entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler were also fictional. Any similarities of names or resemblances to any persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Remember, at the same time next Sunday, another strange tale by The Whistler. This is the CBS Columbia Broadcasting System. Let's meet the cast of The Whistler. The intern at the hospital was the very qualified Sue Gajinsky. The lovely secretary that knew something was bothering Neil was the always intuitive Allison Byhun. One of the many good doctors in the hospital was the always capable Nell Brennan. The veteran doctor that mentored Neil was the always respectable Herb Thompson. The fiancé who believed Neil caused the accident was the hard-to-fool Ellie Babka. The policeman and the dishonorable friend Charlie was the very honorable John Byhun. Playing the taunting voice of the Whistler was Andre Dixon. Dr. Neil Andrews, the doctor who could have inflicted revenge but chose to be the bigger man, was Jacob Palka. Our sounds were courtesy of Marty McNulty. And serving as your announcer and Signal Oil pitchwoman, Kathy Juarez. To give us a preview of next month's shows, let me welcome January's director, Allison Byhun.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I am looking forward to seeing every one of your smiling faces on January 26th. I will be making my directorial debut with the radio players here. So we're going to be doing two great shows. We're going to do one from Suspense called A Little Piece of Rope. When I was looking for some shows to do, I pressed in most suspenseful and scary shows ever. This one came up, starring Lucille Ball. So we're going to do that. And we're also going to end it then with a fun comedy, a Burns and Allen, Gracie Takes Up Crime Fighting. So that will always be a lot of fun too. So again, be here, be square. Again, January 26th. Rain, snow, sleet, hail, be here. And please, everybody, just stay put. We're going to come around and give everyone a little holiday cheer. Happy holidays to all of you. Have a safe and wonderful Christmas, New Year, whatever you, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, wonderful. And sit tight, we're coming around. Thanks again for coming.
Once again, thank you for making us part of your holiday season. Just a reminder that we're not the only place you can enjoy old-time radio. 3 local stations continue to broadcast programs from radio's golden age. On Saturday afternoons between 1 and 5 p.m., you can listen to Those Were the Days with Steve Darnall on WDCB 90.9 FM out of the College of DuPage. On Saturday and Sunday evenings between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., Carl Amari and Lisa Wolf present old-time radio on the WGN Radio Theater on 7:20 a.m. And every weeknight, if you're up late, you can listen at midnight to When Radio Was with Greg Bell on WBBM 780 AM and 105.9 FM. And if you have satellite radio, you can listen to Old Time Radio 24 hours a day on Sirius XM Radio Classics Channel 82. You can also view all of our shows on our YouTube page. Just search the Riverside Township Radio Players, and Andre Dixon has organized all of our shows going back several years. You can also follow us on Twitter at Radio Players. A necessary thanks goes to the Riverside Township and Supervisor Vera Wilt for their support of our shows. Without a budget, rehearsal space, and this terrific space, these shows do not happen. A final thank you tonight goes to Ellie Babka, who takes care of the copying and transcribing of scripts, which he did wonderfully tonight for the Richard Diamond program. We are so lucky to have an incredibly skilled graphic designer, sound effects person, and actor, Marty McNulty. He designs our flyers, keeps our website going at riversidetownshipradioplayers.com, and spends more time than you would want to know making sure our sound effects are prepared well. Let me also thank my technical partner, who was called upon to do more than he signed up for tonight, Lorenzo Cordova. And our last thank you for the calendar year is to you. Without your support, these shows wouldn't happen. Some of you have been around for 19 years, and some maybe for the first time tonight. But we thank all of you, because 19 years is a long time for anything, and your support of our group is always appreciated. Thank you for spending part of your holiday season with us, and whatever holiday you celebrate, we hope you do so with reverence, joy, and with those that matter to you. We will see you in the new year on Friday, January 26th, and until then, thank you and good night.